Assalamu alaikum. May peace be upon all of you, my fellow learners, students, and professionals. As you can see, this video might be something interesting to you, especially if you have challenges in your career. How do you be happy if you're in an unhappy job? Unhappy job. Does that even exist? With my personal experience and all the discussions I've had with my students and clients that I support, I know that it really isn't a utopia. In fact, if you look at some of the reasons as to why someone could be unhappy in their job, there are so many reasons. From my experience, I can tell you that these are some of these reasons. One, something I can personally relate to is really bad managers. I've had the good fortune to work under some remarkable people, but also a minor percentage of people who were really, really bad at leadership and supervising. So your manager can actually make your life really difficult. If you are facing an injustice and unfair treatment, this can make you really unhappy. Lack of work-life balance. This seems to be one of the biggest issues that a lot of students of mine face, especially after the post-COVID, work from home environment in some of the corporate entities that my clients work. They're facing really big challenges because they're pulling 12 hours, 15 hours at times, and it's very difficult to balance their personal life with their career. Contradictions in values and ethos. So this is another thing that I personally can relate to as well, because you walk into the company expecting to operate in a certain way, and you actually applied to the company because you thought that this company works this way, and you really want to be part of that from what you saw from outside. But actually when you go inside and you realize certain truths about how this company operates, and they don't really fit well with your principles, and you get to do certain things that you might not really be comfortable with. I'm not saying they're illegal or unethical, but just it doesn't fit with you. And if that continues for a long time, you can really end up becoming unhappy. In fact, one of the common things that I have actually personally supported a lot of students with is that their work environment is really toxic and abusive. They're actually going through abuse. It could be verbal abuse, not sometimes even sexual abuse, right? And coercion to do certain things, certain uncomfortable things. People who don't like to smoke are being forced to smoke, drink are being forced to drink alcohol, etc. And also, one of the biggest reasons is that if you're facing a supportless environment, sometimes you enter a job, or you're working in a job, or you get a transition, you join a new division, and you expect help, right? You expect support. There are certain situations where you don't really get the right support that you need. I actually have personal experience in this aspect as well, but I'm more of a, I try to learn things on my own, and it's easier that way. But I've actually been able to help a lot of people in the companies that I worked, where they should have been given support, but they weren't. And obviously, one of the most common reasons is salary. These are just some reasons. So you can just evaluate yourself against these reasons and think, am I unhappy because of any of these reasons or anything else? You can just drop a comment and share your story as well. But now, the actual focus of this video, how do you actually tackle this situation if you are unhappy in your job? The first thing we need to understand is, or rather, the question I'm going to ask you is, did you join this job to be happy? Is that why you joined the job? Like when you applied, the reason why you applied was, okay, I want to be happy. Was that the reason? No, right? Not really. You would have joined the job for something else, like your salary, to make money. You needed the financial assistance. Career, you're thinking really about the career. You're really focused about that. To accumulate experience, to strengthen your CV. There could be any number of reasons, but being happy through the job was not the reason. Remind yourself of that. If happiness was the reason, all right, if you're someone who thought that I could be happy by applying this job, or if you applied to that job purely to become happy, you really need to rethink the strategy that you've chosen to be happy. Generally, it's good to know that a corporate gig cannot really make you happy. So that understanding that the initial reason in itself to going for the job was not to be happy is a really good reality check that you can settle yourself down with, oh, right, I didn't join to be happy. I joined for something else. When you remind yourself of that, you're good. Then you have to understand that life is not fair. Definitely not in the corporate environment. It's not easy. Or like I've been in a manager role and leadership roles. So for leaders, it's very difficult because if you have a division to run with 300 people, what are you going to do? Who are you going to promote? There might be 20 people who are really eligible. So from the other end also, from the top down angle also, things are not that easy. So if you are in the operational or the tactical level or in the middle level or the line level, you might actually seeing things from a bottom up sense that you might not really see how difficult it is to manage things from a top down approach. So just understand that life isn't fair. So don't take things too seriously. Don't get too affected. And actually, I have personal experience with this where early in my career, I was very seriously, I took these things too seriously. And I come home, I think about it, all of that. But you need to stop that if you're doing that. You need to focus on the majority who don't have the opportunity that you have. This is very important. It's actually coming from a tradition of my prophet. You have to focus on people who don't have what you have. Then you can be thankful. Then you will feel gratitude what you have. Instead of, do not focus on the minority who have it better. That will only make you feel worse. The world is set up this way. From problems like income gap, minority is taking up a major proportion, Pareto rule. So don't focus on that minority who seemingly have it better. Trust me, they have problems. They have bigger problems, right? But focus on the majority of the people and try to keep your focus there and try to be thankful to what you have, rather than ingratitude and a negative mindset about what you don't have always. Next, you need to understand that you're not alone. If you're feeling unhappy in your job, you really aren't alone. Just remember that if you are finding it difficult, okay, if you have challenges, if you are going through certain problems, then others are going through the same problems. There are other people too. They might not be very vocal about it. You might not be vocal about it. But if you're facing a challenge, if you're facing a problem, it exists in the world. Other people are going through this. And if you know this, since you know you're not alone, you can actually brush things off and make peace with it. You always feel better, right? When you know that I'm not the only person who is going through this. So remember that. I'm telling you, that's the case. But, okay, here I want to caution you because you need strong, resilient mindset, right? You need to be really strong. But do not whine and complain always about whatever you're going through. Do not cry about it. Do not complain all the time, because this actually could make your presence unpleasant to people. And in the corporate setup, you can't really do that. You have to mingle. You have to work with people. And it's not like you're doing a solo job, right? You're working with other divisions, departments, people. You have to coordinate. You have to write emails. You have to get things done. You have to ask people to do things for you. You can't really try to be unpleasant. So do not whine and complain about this, about that, about not having this, about being treated this way. Don't do that, because you're realistic. You understand reality. You understand life isn't fair. You understand that there are practical challenges, and you're thankful. You must try to be cheerful. You must try to bring out that cheerful nature in yourself. In fact, if you can, go one step further and try to make other people feel better in the right way. Don't try to, you have to be careful here, but you can be relaxed about it. Try to help others, talk to others, make other people feel better. This actually will make you feel better. This is something that I have continuously employed with, whichever environment I work in, right? Finally, you have to find happiness elsewhere. So I don't want to really dig deep into exactly the source of happiness here in this video, but you're not going to find happiness in this job, all right, or any job. especially in the corporate setup. You're not going to find that. Happiness lies elsewhere. Where else? I'm not going to tell you here. That you have to figure it out. Think hard about yourself. A tip. You have to really think hard about yourself. You. Who are you? Like I think about myself. And about what makes you truly happy. What you have to ask this question. What am I happy about? What makes me happy? What makes me unhappy? What are the things that I currently am doing that are making me unhappy? All right? Get to know yourself. I always say this. With my clients, with my students, the initial step is a set of questions where we learn about ourselves. And a lot of people find it really surprising because they don't know answers to half of the questions I ask them. Initially, it's all about getting to know yourself. Learn to be comfortable in your own skin. This is one of the biggest problems that exists in the world. People, because of social media, I find social media very ugly in that sense, what it has done to people, and especially young students and young learners, these remarkable individuals, the future of this world is now being degraded and their personalities are being stripped out from the power of social media and these various technological tools. It's not being used to the good it can be used, but for the bad it's being used. People are slowly becoming or finding it very difficult to be comfortable in their own skin. This is very bad. In fact, yesterday I heard a story where a child had passed away in Kalubovila hospital of one of my friend's cousins. The sad story was the child was going through a certain issue, a problem with her kidney related, and she hadn't told her parents. She was afraid. She was afraid about her own self. She was not comfortable in her own skin to speak out, to tell the problem, to be vocal about whatever she is going through. This is a big issue. So you have to get to know yourself and you have to learn to be comfortable, very comfortable in your own skin. The better you know yourself, the easier it is to be happy. Right? I was very fortunate in my life that as I grew along, as I grew up, continuously for me, the things that happened and the way I chose to live, the values and the decisions I made were all a test about myself, about who I am. Like for example, very early on, I learned to let go of serious things that I had committed myself toward. That sometimes I learned very early on that life isn't fair. Right? So when I learned that lesson, I learned something about myself, about how I deal with a situation that is not fair to me. I learned that. And getting that lesson early on, when I'm talking about 16 years old, learning that lesson then helped me throughout my entire corporate career, deal with certain jobs. I'm very happy about how things turned out to be. So you have to learn to be comfortable in your own skin. So if you want to discuss your career and you're facing certain challenges, problems, you're looking for an honest opinion and some honest guidance and mentorship, you can contact me. I work with a lot of students and clients and I accumulate my experience and my knowledge. Just drop an email to azman.branudeen@gmail.com and we can book a session, organize one, and have a discussion, have a really fruitful discussion about you and me, what you can take from me, what you can take from the world. Right? Remember, please remember, you cannot find happiness in a job. You really can't. You cannot find happiness in a job. So don't go finding or looking for happiness where it isn't. You won't find it. Thank you so much. All the very best in your career and in your personal lives. May peace be upon all of you and your loved ones. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.